Close your eyes for a moment and simply be. Do not reach for the past. Do not stretch for the future. Just rest in the presence of this moment. Feel the stillness that surrounds you. Feel the life within you. This moment is all there is, and it is from this eternal now that all things are born. You have been taught to chase, to strive, to seek a future that always seems one step ahead. But the truth is far simpler and infinitely more powerful. Your future is not out there. It is formed in here. What you accept as true of yourself in this present moment is what becomes your reality. You do not attract what you want, you reflect what you are. The mind, untrained, wanders constantly. It replays the past with regret. It projects the future with fear, and in doing so, it misses the only doorway to transformation, the now. The present moment is not a pause between the past and the future. It is the creative center. It is the point of power. Every state, every condition, every external event you wish to experience already exists within this moment, waiting for your assumption of its reality. You are not here to beg for change. You are here to become the change. And becoming is not a future act, it is a now act. When you imagine yourself as already being the person you desire to be, when you feel that reality with full acceptance and certainty, you shift the unseen structures of life itself. Everything begins to move, rearrange, and unfold according to your inner acceptance. What you see around you now is nothing but a reflection of the state you have been living in. If you do not like the reflection, you do not fight the mirror. You change the state. You change what you accept as true within you. It begins with attention. Where you place your attention, you place your power. If you are constantly looking at what is not yet here, you are affirming its absence. But when you live now as though the wish were fulfilled, you are claiming its presence. Assume now that you are already the person you desire to be, not tomorrow, not after a sign, now. Feel it, sense it, walk in it internally. This is not pretending, it is choosing. It is faith in action. It is the sacred act of assuming your future into being, not through force, but through awareness. There is no power outside of your consciousness. All that will ever come to you must come through the inner acceptance that it is already done. Do not wait for circumstances to confirm it. They will always trail behind. The world cannot lead your inner state. Your inner state leads the world. The moment you accept something as true of yourself, life begins to mirror that truth. Feel the joy of having it now. Do not just think about it. Feel it. Embrace the experience of already being it. Smell the air of that reality. Walk in the tone of that fulfilled desire. Live inwardly from the end, and you will call it into form. Your outer world must conform to the inner agreement you hold without effort or strain. That is the law. You are never waiting for time. Time is waiting for you. The longer you postpone your assumption, the longer your desired life remains in potential. But the moment you say yes within, the moment you fully dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the unseen gears begin to move. Live in the now, not to escape the future, but to command it. You are not a victim of time. You are the creator of sequence. You can collapse years into moments through the clarity of your assumption. If you can feel it now, you can live it soon. If you persist in it, you will witness its birth. There is no virtue in delay. There is no reward in struggle. The universe responds not to your effort, but to your acceptance. It flows not to the one who works hardest, but to the one who feels it is already done. Peace comes not from the fulfillment itself, but from the certainty that it is so. You must be willing to leave behind the old story. Stop identifying with what you were. Stop describing yourself with yesterday's limitations. Step into the state of your future self and speak from it, think from it, feel from it. Let it consume your awareness until it becomes natural, effortless, and true. You are not bound by appearances. You are bound only by your inner consent. Give yourself permission to be the one you wish to be. Give yourself the authority to claim it now. This act of inner conviction is the beginning of all creation. The world bends for the one who lives from within. Do not try to figure out how it will happen. That is not your concern. The how belongs to the unseen wisdom that governs all things. Your only task is to remain faithful to the state of the wish fulfilled, dwell in it as though it were the only truth. Let the now be filled with it. Let it be your dwelling place. The moment you return to the present and clothe it with the tone of your future, you are no longer seeking, you are creating. You are no longer a servant of time, you are the master of it. Everything you desire is already yours. It is waiting, not in the future, but in your willingness to feel it now. Choose now, live now, and the future will have no choice but to follow. You are always standing at the threshold of creation, but you seldom realize it. The mind pulls you back into the shadows of the past or pushes you into the fog of an imagined future, and in doing so you abandon the only place where life truly unfolds, the now. This moment, this breath, this very awareness is not just a passing second in time, it is eternity expressing itself. And it is from this point, this conscious center of being, that all things are formed. Creation does not begin when you receive something. It begins when you become something. And becoming is not something that happens tomorrow. It happens now. The present moment is not empty. It is pregnant with infinite potential. It carries within it every possibility, every outcome, every reality you could ever hope to experience. But it can only give birth to what you claim as true of yourself in this very instant. Many continue to live in delay, believing that they must wait for the right time, the right sign, or the right circumstance before they begin to feel the joy, the abundance, the love they desire. But time is not your master. Time is not the source. The source is your state of consciousness, and it exists only in the now. When you understand this, you stop postponing your life. You stop preparing to be. You simply be. You do not need to earn your future. You need only to accept it now. When you step into the now with full awareness, fully conscious of what you are imagining, feeling, and assuming, you step into the power that creates worlds. The outer world is not alive in itself. It is animated by what you hold to be true in this moment. Every image that arises within you, every tone of voice you silently carry, every emotion you dwell in, these are the seeds of reality, and they are planted only in the present. Do not think that your past can hold you. It is dead unless you breathe life back into it by revisiting it with your attention. Likewise, do not think that the future is a force moving toward you. It is a reflection moving outward from you. What you call the future is nothing more than the echo of your present assumption. This is why now is sacred. This is why it is the only place you must learn to live. It is not a waiting room. It is the throne room of creation. When you stop reaching and start residing, when you no longer try to become and instead begin to be, you activate the hidden law that brings the unseen into the seen. The now moment is not a small thing. It is everything. It is not about escaping the future or ignoring what is to come. It is about realizing that your tomorrow is being written right now, not by what you do, but by what you accept, what you feel, and what you assume to be true of yourself. You do not find power by looking ahead. You find it by going within, right here, in this stillness, in this breath. There is nothing more for you to become. You already are. The only task left is to recognize it. You may search for answers, signs, or confirmations, but they will all eventually point you back to the same truth, that all creation begins in the now, and that you are always standing at the door, your hand on the knob, ready to open yourself to the life you've been dreaming of, simply by stepping into it as real, right now. You are not here to chase after what you want. You are here to realize what you are. Life is not responding to your wishes. It is reflecting your state of being. Every condition that surrounds you is a mirror held up to your inner identity, your self-concept, your silent assumptions. You may desire wealth, health, love, or success, but these things do not come because you want them. They come because you become the one who has them. The world does not bend to longing. It bends to being. Desire, when it is laced with lack, creates more of the same. You say, I want, but beneath that wanting is an echo of not having, and life listens to the echo, not the words. When you seek from a place of emptiness, you declare your emptiness. But when you dwell from fullness, even in the unseen, you call into form what matches that inner fullness. The world is not waiting to give to those who beg. It moves swiftly to the one who knows it already has. What you believe yourself to be now is the cause of all you experience. The moment you say, "I am," you send forth a command to the universe, not in sound, but in vibration. And all that follows you is built upon that foundation. If you say, "I am unloved," life will show you scenes to prove it. But if you say, "I am cherished," and you feel the tone of that reality deep within, life cannot help but bring it to you. This is not theory, it is law. And it works regardless of whether you understand it. You are always being what you are. You are always expressing what you believe, whether consciously or not. If you look around and find conditions you do not like, do not blame them. See them as a reflection of a belief you have accepted. Then, gently but firmly, change the belief. Change your concept of self, not through force, but through feeling, not through effort, but through identification. You are not required to act differently to receive a different result. You are required to feel differently, not pretend, but actually step into the version of yourself that already has what you desire. When you do this, not just with words, but with conviction, everything begins to shift. Circumstances, people, events, they all begin to rearrange, drawn to the magnetic center of your assumed identity. This is why you must turn your attention inward, not outward. The outer world is an echo. If you try to change the echo without changing the voice that caused it, you waste your energy. But if you go to the root, the inner self, and embody a new truth, the echo must change on its own. You need not chase, you only need to be. Not one day, not when conditions improve, but now. You reflect what you are in consciousness. If you dwell in peace, peace will surround you. If you live in abundance within, abundance will clothe your days. And if you remain faithful to a new assumption, even in the face of opposing evidence, the world will yield. It has no choice but to mirror the dominant tone of your inner being. You do not need to figure out how the reflection will come. You simply hold to the image within, knowing that it must be answered. You live from the reality you wish to experience, not toward it. This is the secret the world misses, that it is not your desire that creates. It is your embodiment of the desire as fulfilled that creates. It is not your words, but your felt identity that speaks to life. So, when you think of your dreams, ask not how they will come, but who you must become to receive them. Then become it, live in it, walk in it inwardly, silently, confidently. The world will follow your lead, not because you forced it, but because you reflected it. What you are, in this moment, is what the world is preparing to give you. You do not attract what you want. You reflect what you are. There is a quiet yet irresistible power in the act of assumption. It is not loud, it does not beg, it does not argue with appearances, it simply knows. To assume the wish fulfilled is to step beyond effort and into faith. Not blind faith, but the kind that sees with the inner eye. When you assume something is already done, you are not hoping for it, you are not waiting for it, you are dwelling in the reality where it already exists. And that dwelling place is not somewhere far ahead of you. It is here, it is now. The outer world is always following the inner state. You do not need to wait for something to happen to feel changed. You must feel changed for something to happen. The world rearranges itself to mirror your conviction. So long as you continue to believe that your desire is somewhere in the distance, you hold it there. But the moment you accept it as already yours, the distance collapses. Time bends, reality shifts. It comes not because it was brought to you by effort, but because you lived from it in consciousness. To assume is not to pretend. It is to fully embody the end, to feel the truth of what you want as though it were already part of your experience. It is a surrender, not to conditions, but to inner knowing. And once you have surrendered to this knowing, you need not strain or seek approval from the world. It must take the shape of your assumption. It cannot resist. The law does not bend to appearances. It bends to the one who persists in assumption. You may think it is difficult to live as though something were true when the senses deny it. But this is the very work you were born to do, not to conform to the senses, but to rise above them, not to react to life, but to create it. When you assume the wish fulfilled, you are claiming dominion over the seen through the unseen. You are planting a seed in the invisible soil of awareness, and though you may not yet see the bloom, the process is already in motion. There is no need to ask, when will it come? The question itself implies that it has not yet arrived, but the one who assumes speaks only in the language of fulfillment. I am, I have, it is done. This is the true voice of creation, not one of doubt, not one of desperation, but of certainty. The assumption becomes the only reality you entertain, and every other voice, every other appearance, is treated as a shadow, a passing wind, a thing with no power. This inner act of assuming changes everything. It reshapes your reactions, your thoughts, your emotions. You walk differently, speak differently, think differently, not because you're forcing yourself, but because you have become the person who lives in that fulfilled state. It is not a performance, it is a transformation. And this transformation is always inward, first. The outer signs are just echoes. Let the feeling of the wish fulfilled saturate your being. Let it be so alive in you that you cannot remember the feeling of not having it. Imagine it with such detail and clarity that it no longer feels like imagining, but remembering. Let your nights be filled with the tones of fulfillment. Let your days be shaped by its confidence. When you persist in this way, the world must yield, for it is only ever showing you yourself. It is done in the now. It is felt in the now. It is claimed in the now. And the one who lives from the now as though all is fulfilled shall walk into a future that reveals only what has already been accepted within. You do not need to strive to create a better future. You only need to awaken now. Everything you seek, joy, freedom, love, abundance, is not found in some distant place or at a future time. It is here, within you, waiting to be acknowledged. Your world, your reality, your life is not moving towards something. It is flowing outward from what you accept as true now. This moment, right here, is the only time that ever truly matters, for it is the only time in which creation occurs. The great illusion is that you must wait for the outer world to give you permission to feel fulfilled. But the truth is this: when you choose to feel now what you desire to experience later, you collapse the distance between longing and fulfillment. The outer world becomes a mirror to your inner state. Live as if it were already true, and it must become true. Persist in the assumption, not with strain, but with quiet confidence and inner peace. You have been given the greatest gift, the power to enter into any state of being at will, the power to imagine, to feel, to embody, and thereby to create. No past mistake can hold you. No future fear can define you. You are free to choose again, right now. And the moment you do, truly do, the world around you begins to reassemble itself in harmony with your new choice. There is no need to chase signs. There is no need to beg or struggle or search. All you ever needed was to remember who you are, the one who gives life to what is seen by choosing what is believed within. Your assumptions are not idle. They are the seeds of reality. And what you assume consistently, lovingly, and faithfully becomes the life you live. So walk in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Let the present moment be the soil in which you plant your desires. Rest in the assurance that it is already done. Think from it, feel from it, move from it, and let that inner knowing carry you beyond doubt, beyond delay, beyond appearances. The future is not waiting to meet you. It is already shaped by who you are being now. Choose wisely, dwell consciously, and live faithfully in the state of your fulfilled desire. For as you are now, so shall your world be. The truth is this: you already possess what you seek, but it is hidden within your own consciousness, waiting for your assumption to give it life. You are not trying to make something happen. You are awakening to what already is, and what already is becomes visible the moment you live, as though it were true. You do not need permission. You do not need proof. You only need to assume it is done, and then live, feel, breathe, and move in the certainty that it is. That is the path. That is the key. That is how the unseen becomes seen. There is a world far more real than the one the eyes behold, and it lives within you. This inner world, though invisible, is the root from which all visible things grow. Imagination is not a fleeting fantasy or idle daydream. It is the sacred tool of creation. It is the medium by which the formless takes shape. When you understand the power of your imagination, you no longer look to the outside for evidence. You turn inward, knowing that all that appears without must first be accepted within. To imagine is to create. Whatever you can vividly imagine and feel to be true, you set in motion. The world you experience is simply the crystallized result of what you have imagined and believed. There is nothing you see today that did not begin as an unseen image or impression. Everything, the home, the body, the relationships, the wealth, began first in the realm of thought and feeling. You are not a spectator of reality. You are the projector. Do not wait for conditions to give you permission to imagine boldly. Do not ask the world if you are allowed to believe in the life you desire. The world is a shadow, a reflection of yesterday's state. It holds no power of its own. Your imagination, when charged with feeling and faith, is the true cause behind every effect. When you step into a scene within your mind and feel it as real, when you see, hear, touch, and emotionally dwell in it, you are sowing a seed that must, by law, bring forth after its kind. So many lie trapped in appearances, judging what is possible by what currently is. They say, "How can I believe I am wealthy when I see lack? How can I feel loved when I appear to be alone?" But this is the very challenge you are meant to rise above, to imagine something greater, something more beautiful, something more true than the current facts, and to persist in that inner vision is to rewrite what the world must become. You are not meant to be ruled by facts. Facts are just old imaginations brought to life. They are not fixed. They are not final. You can change them, not by wrestling with them, but by imagining beyond them. Take your attention away from what is and turn it with full devotion to what can be. Let the scene of your fulfilled desire be more alive within you than anything outside of you. Let it fill you with emotion. Let it become the place you dwell again and again. Every great change begins with a simple act of imagination, a moment of belief in the unseen, a quiet decision to assume, just for a moment, that what you long for is already yours. And in that assumption, felt deeply and consistently, the world begins to bend. Things shift, people move, opportunities arise, not by force, not by strategy, but by a law more profound than anything the senses can grasp. You need not see the whole path ahead. You need not know when or how. Your work is to live inwardly in the end, to visit that place in your imagination so often that it becomes your dwelling place. And once it becomes natural, once it becomes familiar, it must harden into fact. That is the way. You are not building castles in the sky. You are laying foundations in the unseen that will soon stand firm in the visible. Trust your imagination. Trust the pictures that rise within you, especially the ones that fill you with peace and joy. They are not fantasies. They are previews. They are blueprints. And the more faithfully you inhabit them, the sooner they will manifest. For nothing comes into being unless it is first imagined and embraced within. This is your true creative power, not to react to life, but to imagine it anew, and by doing so, to give birth to it. There is a subtle temptation to wait, for signs, for circumstances, for the world to show a flicker of change before you dare to believe. But the truth is that waiting is denying. Every time you look outward for evidence before you claim the inner reality, you postpone the very thing you seek. You are not here to wait. You are here to live in the end, to assume the state of fulfillment as your dwelling place, regardless of what the senses report. That is the great reversal, not living toward the desire, but from it. If you are waiting, you are doubting. If you are hoping, you are not yet assuming. Hope looks to the future. Assumption rests in the now. To live in the end is to make the future your present. It is to feel that what you desire is already yours, and to walk in that inner conviction so completely that the outer world has no choice but to conform. The one who truly lives in the end no longer asks when or how, for those questions have already been resolved by the feeling that it is done. There is a tremendous power in this quiet knowing. It does not scream, it does not struggle, it is calm, it is sure, and it is magnetic. When you live in the end, you carry the fragrance of fulfillment. You speak, move, and react from the reality of already having. And that state, once assumed and persisted in, becomes a command to life itself. You need not plead, you need only embody. You must make a firm decision within yourself that the desire is already fulfilled. And then, like a seed planted in the soil, you leave it alone, knowing it will grow. Not because you keep checking the ground, but because you trust the invisible process. The one who waits is like the one who plants the seed and digs it up each day to see if it has sprouted. But the one who lives in the end waters it with imagination, warms it with feeling, and lets the unseen do its work. Even when nothing seems to change, even when the world appears silent, you persist. You keep the vision alive. You do not need the world to agree with you. Your inner conviction is enough. The moment you stop looking for proof, you begin to generate it. The moment you stop asking for signs, the signs begin to appear, but only because you are no longer living from lack. You are dwelling in fulfillment. This is not a matter of pretending or faking. It is a matter of choosing. It is a willingness to ignore what the eyes see and to trust what the inner vision holds. And the more natural that inner vision becomes, the more natural its expression in the world must become. Life has no choice but to mirror the reality you dwell in, for that is its only role. Stop asking when it will happen. Ask instead, am I living from the end? Do I feel it real? Do I speak from it? Do I react as the person who already has what they desire? That is the true test. For when the state is fully assumed, you lose the desire itself. You no longer need to reach for it, because you are it, and from that state of being, everything else flows. You cannot fake the feeling of fulfillment, but you can practice it. You can return to it. You can choose it again and again until it becomes more real to you than the absence of it. And once that shift occurs, once the state becomes your natural home, the outer world bends to match it, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped waiting and started living. You must come to the point where circumstances no longer have authority over you. The world of appearances, what you see, hear, and touch, is not the source of truth. It is the echo of former assumptions. It is the outpicturing of past states. And just as a shadow cannot change the form that casts it, circumstances cannot define you unless you give them permission. Your state of consciousness is the cause. Everything else is effect. There is a deep freedom in realizing that nothing outside of you has power except what you grant it. Lack, illness, rejection, delay, these are not forces. They are reflections. They are the clothing worn by your previous inner acceptance. And just as a new outfit can be selected, so too can a new state of being. You are never stuck. You are only lingering in a state that no longer serves you. Do not judge by appearances. Appearances are late. They always arrive after the cause. To respond emotionally to the outer scene is to react to a past creation. It is like shouting at a mirror for the face it reflects. But when you remember that it is your inner state that holds the true power, you stop reacting and you begin to assume control. You no longer say, look at what is, but this is what I choose to be. Even when the facts scream the opposite, even when everything seems unchanged, you hold fast to the state you've claimed within, because you know the world must yield. It cannot hold its shape in the face of a new assumption. It may delay, it may resist for a moment, but ultimately it must bend. And it always does. You have not come here to be a servant of facts. You have come to be the master of states. The world will reflect your assumption, not your desire. So when the bank account is empty, when the body feels broken, when the door appears shut, do not bow to the condition. Instead, rise in consciousness and clothe yourself in the feeling of the opposite. Feel wealth even in the presence of lack. Feel vitality even in the presence of weakness. Feel loved even when alone. That is the path to transformation. The power lies not in denying what you see, but in refusing to give it authority. You can acknowledge what is without surrendering to it. You can see a fact without becoming it. And the moment you choose to respond from your desired state rather than your present condition, you shift the energy. You send a new signal. You plant a new seed. This is not denial. It is discipline. It is faith in action. It is the choice to believe in the unseen over the seen. And though it may appear irrational to others, though it may seem foolish to stand in the face of a storm and declare calm, this is the mark of the awakened. The one who knows that circumstances are fluid, not fixed, malleable, not immovable. Do not wait for things to change so you can feel differently. Feel differently, and things must change. Your state precedes your experience. It creates the lens through which you see, and through that lens you generate your world. If you change the lens, the picture must shift. If you change the state, the circumstance must reflect it. This is why nothing is impossible, because no matter what has been, no matter what currently is, a new state, assumed and lived in, holds the power to overturn it all. The outer is clay. The inner is the hand that molds it. Let your hand be steady. Let your state be firm. And let the world follow your lead, for it was always meant to do so. There is a sacred law at work that never fails. The outer world must mirror the inner agreement you hold. Life is not happening to you. It is responding through you. Every relationship, every conversation, every condition that surrounds you is a perfect reflection of the assumptions you have made about yourself, about others, about the nature of life itself. These assumptions are not always spoken, but they are always felt. And what is felt with conviction, whether it is wanted or not, will be made visible. You walk through life clothed in invisible garments, states of being, identities, beliefs. These are the tones you carry with you, and they announce themselves long before you speak a word. The world hears these silent declarations and responds accordingly. If within you hold the agreement that you are not seen, not valued, or not worthy, the world will faithfully reflect that agreement. But the moment you revise the inner covenant, when you say within yourself, I am loved, I am chosen, I am secure, the world begins to echo that new truth. This is not imagination as escape. This is imagination as command. The inner agreement is not a wish, it is a contract. Once accepted, it becomes law. You do not need to convince others of your worth, your beauty, your power. You need only assume it quietly and feel it as your natural state. The world is not listening to your words, it is listening to your vibration. It reads the tone you live in and rushes to harmonize with it. You do not have to fight for recognition. You do not have to struggle for opportunity. These things are drawn to the one who dwells in the agreement that they are already his. When you change the conversation within, the world becomes a new mirror. Your reflection shifts not by force, but by inner acceptance. The light you carry is the light that is returned to you. It is not arrogance to agree with your higher self. It is alignment. It is the sacred act of claiming what has always been yours. And as you move through life in that agreement, circumstances bend, people change, doors open, not because you begged them to, but because you no longer doubted. You stopped making inner contracts with limitation. You tore up the agreements of lack, rejection, fear, and failure, and signed a new one. I am whole. I am chosen, I am free, and life, faithful as always, honors what you hold true. There is no deception in this. There is no trickery. You are not manipulating the outer world. You are simply remembering who you are and living from that remembrance. You are claiming your inheritance, not as something to earn, but as something to be. What you accept within must express itself without. It may come through unexpected channels. It may take forms you didn't anticipate. But it will come, because the universe does not ignore conviction. It does not overlook the one who walks in the boldness of already being. It cannot. It must mirror back the image it is given. So take inventory of the silent agreements you have made. Examine the identity you have unconsciously signed your name to, and if it no longer serves you, change it, not tomorrow, not after evidence, but now, and then hold to that agreement as though your life depended on it, for in a very real way, it does. Your entire world is a covenant with your inner self. Break the old one, write a new one, and walk as if it were already signed, sealed, and delivered, for the world is only reflecting the truth you've dared to embody. You must come to understand that your task is not to figure out the way. Your task is to feel it already done. The moment you step into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you hand over the burden of how to a power far greater than logic, far wiser than intellect. You do not need to map out the journey. You need only to dwell in the destination. When you live in the end, the means unfold in silence, with precision, in ways that often defy explanation. That is the mystery. That is the miracle. The world is bound by linear thinking, steps, plans, timelines. But consciousness moves outside of time. It is not tied to the sequence of events, but to the state from which those events emerge. And when you shift your state, you shift the entire pattern. The road bends, people appear, events align, not because you forced them, but because you aligned yourself with the end result, and the rest became inevitable. There is no need to ask how your desire will come. That question is born from a mind that doubts. It arises only when the assumption has not yet taken root. When you fully accept something as already yours, you do not worry about the path to it. Just as you do not question how a seed becomes a tree, you do not question how your imagined reality will become fact. You trust that the unseen process is always at work. The truth is, when you live from the state of the wish fulfilled, you naturally take the steps that align with it. Not from pressure, not from fear, but from inspiration. You move not out of desperation, but out of knowing. Your actions are no longer attempts to force an outcome. They are the effortless movements of one who already knows the outcome is certain. You become the embodiment of the fulfilled state, and in doing so, you attract, evoke, and reveal the pathway. This is why effort alone cannot create what the heart desires. It may build, it may gather, but unless it springs from the right state, it is hollow. But when a single act is born of the feeling of already having, it carries the entire force of creation behind it. It is not what you do that matters. It is the state from which you do it. And when that state is one of fulfillment, life becomes a stream, not a struggle. Do not fall into the trap of overthinking. The more you attempt to control the route, the more you reinforce the belief that it is not already done. But when you release the need to know, when you surrender to the feeling of completion, you open yourself to divine orchestration. The how is always hidden until the end is accepted. It is not yours to force, it is yours to allow. Let yourself rest in the unseen. Let yourself trust in the silence between the steps. Know that the path is forming beneath your feet, even as you stand still. What you desire already exists. It is not being created, it is being selected. And the moment you choose it within, the laws of this universe move to bring it forth. Hold to the end, and the means will find you. Trust the unseen bridge of incidents. Walk with the assurance that nothing is missing, nothing is broken, nothing is delayed. Your work is to dwell in the tone of the fulfilled desire, to feel its reality now, and to let that feeling guide you. The how will not be shown by asking, it will be revealed by being. Let go of the way, and the way will appear. Faith is not a desperate cry into the dark, nor is it a blind hope clinging to possibility. Faith is presence. It is the inner confidence that what you have imagined is already finished. To live by faith is to walk the earth as though the unseen were more real than the seen. You are not waiting for the outer world to prove anything to you. You are proving the truth of your inner world by assuming its reality now. That is the great secret, to act, speak, and feel from the premise that it is already done. When you truly believe, you are no longer seeking. You are no longer pleading, affirming out of lack, or looking over your shoulder for signs. You are at peace. The inner world becomes your dwelling place, and from that place the outer world reshapes itself accordingly. Faith is the stillness in your heart that knows the seed has taken root, even if there is not yet a sprout above the soil. It is the invisible bridge between now and fulfillment, and you do not need to see the whole path to trust the destination. Living now as though it is already done requires courage. The courage to ignore appearances, to rise above circumstances, and to deny the evidence of the senses. Not to deny that the facts exist, but to deny them the power to define what is real. You see beyond the surface. You place your attention not on what is, but on what is felt as already true within. That is faith. The ability to persist in assumption without any visible reason to do so, because you know creation happens first in consciousness. It is not enough to speak words. You must embody the vibration of what those words declare. You must feel the joy of the fulfilled desire. Breathe in its peace, move with its freedom. That is how the unseen becomes flesh. The moment you feel yourself as the person who already has, already is, already enjoys, you collapse the gap between now and then. You no longer live in anticipation. You live in embodiment. This is not pretending. Pretending knows it is false. This is choosing. Choosing now to occupy the state of fulfillment, not for a moment, but as your permanent dwelling. And you persist there, not to make it happen, but because you know it already has. You do not walk through the world measuring time or asking when. You walk as one who remembers that everything you see began in an invisible place. And so, you give more power to that inner space than to anything that contradicts it. Faith is not passive. It is dynamic, powerful, alive. It compels you to act in ways that align with your assumption. It whispers, "You are already it," and invites you to behave accordingly, not from effort, but from identity. You eat, speak, move, and rest as one whose desire is fulfilled, and the world, bound by law, responds to your signal. The outer must conform to the inner blueprint. Many wait for the world to shift before they change their minds. But those who know the law reverse the order. They change their minds first. They change their state. They revise their beliefs. They accept what is unseen and call it done. And soon, what was once only felt becomes visible, tangible, undeniable. That is the reward of faith, the translation of the invisible into the seen, not through striving, but through certainty. Live now as the one who already possesses. Carry yourself in the tone of the fulfilled wish. Speak from the reality you have claimed, and watch as the world echoes back your conviction. For faith is not waiting, it is becoming. Faith is not hoping, it is knowing. There is no future apart from the now. What you call your future is only a reflection of the state you occupy in this very moment. You do not stumble into your destiny by accident. You create it now, with every thought you accept, every feeling you dwell in, every identity you assume. The world ahead is not something to be awaited. It is something to be selected now, inwardly and lived from, long before the senses catch up to the change. Every inner conversation, every reaction, every emotional tone you carry, these are the blueprints of your tomorrow. You are not punished for your thoughts. You are shaped by them. And when you change the state from which you think, you change the course your life must follow. Nothing changes until you do, but the instant you shift the feeling of being, the moment you rise in consciousness, your world must rearrange to match your new center. You are not bound to repeat what has been. You are not destined to relive what others have projected upon you. You are free, always, to change the inner script. And the moment you do, the outer must obey, for the world is nothing but the echo of your dominant state. It cannot argue with what you are. It can only reflect it. Do not look for change by examining the future as a place you have not yet reached. Understand that the seed of the future is planted in the soil of the now, and whatever you plant here, whatever you feel, believe, and accept, must grow. There is no exception to this. The law is impartial. Whether you sow joy or fear, confidence or doubt, lack or abundance, The result is shaped by what is sown now. You must stop waiting to become. Become now. Live now as the one who has already arrived. Think as that person. Feel as that person. Walk as that person. This is not imagination in the sense of escape. It is imagination as selection. And once selected, your world begins to bend to the shape of your new inner reality. When you persist in the feeling of already being, already having, already doing what you desire, you call into your life all that is needed to give that inner reality an outer expression. But if you continue to think of yourself as one who will have someday, or hopes to be someday, you push the fulfillment endlessly ahead, for you are not occupying it now. Time is not your master. Time only reveals what you place within it. The future is simply the delayed display of what you are dwelling in now. So if you are unsatisfied with what is coming, do not beg the future to be different. Instead, step into the now and saturate it with the identity of the fulfilled version of yourself. Change the tone of your self-talk. Change the way you respond to life. Stop repeating the old story. There is no power in the repetition of what was. The power lies in creation, and creation only happens in the now. Choose this moment as the turning point. Decide here, inwardly, who you are, and refuse to leave that state no matter what the world presents. The truth is, you are always manifesting, always bringing forth something. The question is, are you doing it deliberately, consciously, purposefully, or are you recreating the past by default, calling it fate or chance? The power has always been yours, but it lies not in force, but in alignment. Align now with the future you desire, and let the outer world be drawn to you like a shadow to light.